All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
Welcome back to the Loose Wheels Show. My name is Andrew Hazlett, and alongside me is Ethan Ignatowski.
Yep, that's my name.
How are y'all doing, people of the world?
They can't answer you, Andrew. I mean, yeah. Me personally, I'm doing pretty great. Andrew, do you know what happened? I mean, we just talked about it, so I know you do know what happened. But Andrew, do you want to tell the people what happened just a few blocks down the street that way?
You saw a wrong-way driver?
I did, but no, I was talking about how my Golden State Warriors embarrassed your Phoenix Suns.
Big deal.
133 to 95. Beautiful.
I couldn't care less.
Average Phoenix driver, though, going the wrong way on... Which is that's not fourth. That's third.
I witnessed a baseball game where there were 33 runs scored a day.
Yeah. But average Phoenix driver, as I was saying, people don't know how to drive in this city, unlike the people that we're going to be talking about later on in this show. Because Andrew, this is a racing show, and we talk about people that know how to drive, and Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll catching a stray.
Put that on the Instagram. That was funny.
I will add that to my clip doc that I need to work on because I haven't done the last two episodes of.
Apologies to.
Well, that's going on the
Stroll because I know you're listening.
And Stroll listening as well. Anyway, going into the reviews.
And now for last week's race reviews.
Darlington happened. And boy, let me tell you about a snoozer. Brandon Jones won the Xfinity race. Somehow, I didn't watch the race, but whenever I see a Brandon Jones win, I'm always shocked.
You just know something happened.
Byron led from pole for a long time. For the Cup race. Larson had a spin, some pit. Then Kosovar had a spin, flat tire. And we had a third caution of the stage one where Herbst spun Kosovar. Where everyone pit, Byron led, won stage one. Stage two, we had green flag pit stops. Six Keselowski spun from a loose wheel, but did not lose the wheel. What? A loose wheel, but did not lose the wheel.
But the wheel was loose.
Yes, the nut from the wheel came off, and that caused a debris caution and caused him to. They didn't throw the caution for him spinning. I didn't have time to run back to my apartment to get the chicken award today, but NASCAR officiating, you would get the chicken award if I had it today. Okay. Squeak, 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 squeak.
Great impression there, Andrew. Wow. If the whole journalism thing doesn't work out, maybe you could become one of those comedians that just does impressions the whole time. I definitely spelled that right in the sheet where I keep track of the awards. But anyway, moving forward, that was just a guy spins and is going slowly. You don't throw the caution. But I say, throw the caution when we see the nut on the track. Just not very good. There was a handful of guys who stayed out at this point, including Byron. Byron was the first out and won stage two eventually after they went green. Stage three for pit stops, Byron first out once again, green flag pit stops. Tyler Reddick leads after pit stops. Sean Brennan?
Yes. So it took a green flag cycle for us to get our first pass of the day. It wasn't even under actual pass. It was just pit stops. So really riveting there. Not fun. And then, with 3 laps to go, we get an actual pass for the lead. Blaney passed Reddick. And then, a million laps down and with no places to gain, Kyle Larson spun his race car for the second time, bringing overtime. Denny Hamlin got the lead out in the pits, which happened, and then Hamlin went on to win and dominate the 2-lap overtime, which the race was terrible. I'm giving this a 3 out of 10 review here. Not very good. One pass under green, and it didn't really even matter in the grand scheme of things because it just immediately got undone. Actually, I'm going to give it a 2.5.
I think you should just give it a straight up 2, Andrew, because This is a new low for me. Between Sunday and today, you've been acting like this is one of the worst races you've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely.
And we were talking about this earlier today, actually. If this is a scale of 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, however we determine it, I don't know. I guess it's 0 to 10. I've never given a 0. You've never given a 0, so we don't know. But no matter what it is, if 10 is the hypothetical greatest race of all time, and 5 is the hypothetical most mid-race of all time, then you saying that this is one of the worst races of all time, I'm thinking that's a 1, 1.5, maybe a 2, not a 2.5, maybe a 3, you know what I mean?
Well, it automatically gets a point for having race cars on the track and then the second lap is a full point, is a full race happened. So he gets 2 points by default.
According to what?
According to me. This is
dude.
You might say, hey, this system is broken, in which that's your opinion, but by my system, a clear outline, 2 points for basically default, so this race was not very good.
Okay. Another race that also wasn't very good, just really a horrible weekend of racing, was the Japanese Grand Prix. It's honestly not even worth it for me to recap the race in the fashion that we normally do, so I'm gonna go more plotline based, which I've done a couple times in the past when it just hasn't been worth it to go. Well, I did one time in the past to try to do something different. This is the first time doing it just because there just genuinely isn't anything to talk about, because Max Verstappen led the entire race. There was hardly any passing. There were some movers up and down the order, but realistically, not really. The only exciting part of the race is when Max Verstappen and Lando Norris somehow exited the pit lane at almost the exact same time, and Lando drove onto the grass for some reason. He decided he wanted to be a lawnmower racer instead of a Formula One racer. That was really the only exciting bit that happened. But there were things to mention, like Max Verstappen. He did win, as I mentioned. He had a great qualifying to get pole. He took, Andrew, there's basically the I guess traditional way of taking the final corner to the start finish line at Suzuka, which is where you go around the outside to basically set your, because normally that would set you up well for turn one, yeah. I suppose that's just what is, no matter the reason really, that's what every driver does. Except Max Verstappen, and I believe Oliver Behrman also did this, took what's basically known as like the sim racing line, where instead of going on the outside, you hug the inside, hug the wall, because it's a shorter distance, and it just, if you're doing a qualifying lap, it just makes more sense. And what would you know? Oliver Behrman had a beautiful qualifying, and Max Verstappen got pole, so it worked. Verstappen just barely beat out Norris and Piastri for that pole, and it served him well in the race. I mean, Suzuka has become, not even becoming, it already is, its own Monaco style track. I mean, these F1 cars are just so difficult to overtake, and Andrew, and I mean, you see that I have something listed down later in the doc, but I would honestly rather prefer to talk about it now. I mean,
Go right ahead.
these cars are engineering marvels, but they just don't promote good racing. Then the regulation change next year can't come soon enough because these cars are too big, too clunky, and the dirty air that is spun off the back of them by all the aerodynamics. Because when a car runs through the air is clean, and then as the car passes through the air tumbles through the different curves and aerodynamic features, and it sprays off the car in different directions. It's not what they call a clean air. Yeah, it's a wake, essentially, to put it in simple terms. So those drivers are running through that air, which isn't conducive to going fast as undisturbed air is. And so it makes it harder to catch the drivers ahead. And now, like, if you're staying within DRS distance, that can help you at a track like Suzuka, but the DRS at Suzuka isn't strong enough to promote passing. It's basically just gives you the opportunity to stay within 10 seconds, which leads me to my next point of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. A whole lot of discussion on Twitter on if they should have let Piastri pass Lando to try to go after Max, because Piastri appeared faster. But the only reason he appeared faster is because Piastri was in Lando's DRS, while Lando was too far behind Max to not be in his DRS. If they switched, Oscar wouldn't have magically gone quick enough to be able to catch Max. Even if he was slightly faster than Lando on true lap pace, like, it wouldn't be enough. There would be no point in making that swap. And if you're Lando Norris, like, you're not going to make that swap anyway, because after this race where he finished second, he is ahead in the World Drivers' Championship by only 1 point. So he wasn't going to make that swap anyway for absolutely no reason. And also, I just think it's ironic that people decide if they want or don't want team orders depending on the position of their driver at that point in time, which, I mean, of course, because fans are biased. I just do think that is funny. Those are basically the two main talking points of this race. Somehow, McLaren didn't win with the fastest car, although I will say there's a lot of discourse also about how that Red Bull is... I joked with you about this, Andrew, off air. At first in Australia, it was the third fastest car. Then at China, it was magically the fourth fastest car. And after Japan, people wanted to say it was the fifth fastest car. It is not the fifth fastest car. It's not the fourth fastest car. It probably isn't even the third fastest car. It is probably the second fastest car. It is extremely optimized... Voice crack. Whoa. What? It is extremely optimized to Max Verstappen. It's a difficult car to drive, sure. I don't doubt that for a second. But it's not slow. It's slow for Yuki, it's slow for Liam, it's slow for whoever else is in that second seat. But for Max Verstappen, who the car is built around, it is the second fastest car. It's probably faster for Max than it is the McLaren would be for Max, because the Red Bull is more suited to his driving style. Maybe that's crazy to say. I don't know. But what I know is not crazy to say is that it isn't a slow car. If Max is an amazing driver, but how close F1 cars are, I don't care if he's racing, well, no. Against Formula 1 drivers, he's not going to be winning a race in the fourth or fifth fastest car, probably not even the third fastest car. It is the second fastest car under the control of Max Verstappen, who is the guy that we're talking about, because the second Red Bull driver really doesn't exist, which segue into the next talking point. Yuki Tsunoda made his Red Bull debut. Didn't go great, qualified 15th. He looked really fast in Q1, but just wasn't able to get a solid... I think in Q1 he qualified like 6th or 7th. but obviously that doesn't matter. In Q2, he qualified 15th, which is, that's in the drop zone. He got eliminated from the rest of qualifying. He just wasn't really able to get down a good solid lap. He looked okay, I guess, in the race, everything being relative. He jumped up a couple positions, finished 12th, but still just not the type of performance that you want to see out of the second Red Bull driver. But it's the type of performance that we all expected because, it's the second Red Bull car. We've beaten this horse to death. I don't want to talk about it anymore. That car's difficult to drive. But Yuki did about as good of a job as anyone could have asked him to, hopping in with practically no testing and just being told to drive. His former teammate, though, Isaac Hadjar, he got his first points in Formula One. Shout out to him. Kimi Antonelli, another rookie. He was the the youngest driver to ever lead a lap in a Formula One race, beating Max Verstappen's record. So, I believe Max held that record. So, congratulations to the both of them. It's been a rough start to the season for a guy like Carlos Sainz. He finished 14th. Liam Lawson finished 17th in his return to RB. Lance Stroll finished 20th in that Aston Martin. Well, Fernando finished 11th. There's basically nothing really else to talk about. I'll give you the rundown 1st to 10th as I always do. As I've said, Verstappen won. Lando Norris finished 2nd. Oscar Piastri finished 3rd. Leclerc was 4th. George Russell was 5th. Kimi Antonelli was 6th. Lewis Hamilton came in 7th, followed by Isaac Hadjar. Alex Albon was 9th. He's still driving really well. Should have mentioned him probably, but I'm mentioning him now. He's doing a nice job this year in that Williams. And Oliver Behrman helped out by that really nice qualifying of his, finished 10th. No DNFs. Everyone finished the race. Boring race. Like I said, just not enough happened to warrant a full lap-by-lap rundown as we normally do. 2.5 out of 10, 3 out of 10, like you said for yours, because it wasn't the worst F1 race ever. There have been races that have been more funeral procession-esque, but there have certainly been races that have been less. So hopefully we get some exciting racing here because last 2 races, 2 out of the 3 races to start the season, snooze fests, Andrew. Absolute snooze fest. We're going to Bahrain, which has had some pretty exciting racing in the past. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't really have high hopes, though, with the last year of this regulations. Might just it'll be an interesting year because I think it'll be an interesting year in the sense that I think different weeks it's going to be different people in different spots. It's not going to be everyone has their own assigned position, which would just be the absolute worst thing ever. But it's not going to be interesting in terms of racing, as it has been in some recent years. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but I think I might just be being a bit of a Debbie Downer. I don't know.
Here's a couple things that I'm taking away that I'd like to comment on. Is that I feel that everyone always says Japan's always a great race, beautiful track. Like, it's a lot of people's favorite tracks. That's why I feel personally, because I've played the F1 racing games, and I don't like that track. It's not very fun to drive on.
It's a difficult track to drive.
I like Fuji better, personally.
Here's the thing. I think
would they ever
would F1 ever go back to Fuji?
And would it produce better racing with the package they have right now, or the regulations, not package?
I think that there's definitely a possibility that they could go back to Fuji. I don't know what the current agreement is with Suzuka. I would assume they're still under contract for a while, so probably not until that contract runs out, which by then we would have the new regulations anyway, so who knows. As for if they were to say they were going to Fuji next week, do I think it would be a better race? I don't know, because it's a lot of flowy corners that would probably be difficult to it's probably also not just because it has those flowy corners, probably just difficult to stay within passing distance and be able to make those overtakes. I don't think it would be a track that's conducive to overtaking in this current package, I guess is the answer to your question. There's really only a few hard braking zones, and the rest is just pretty medium speed, flowy corners, probably, with this package. But I wouldn't be opposed to trying it out in the future. I think that you're absolutely right. Suzuka is a favorite for a lot of, for at least a handful of drivers, or maybe if it's not their favorite, it's one of their favorites, just because of the way it drives. But in terms of racing with this car, with this package, yeah, Suzuka isn't the best. And if we're being quite honest, hasn't been great for a while. I think this was obviously the worst race there in recent memory, but I think it was kind of always heading this way, unfortunately. But hopefully this next year's regulations will be able to bring back the type of racing at Suzuka that made it such a loved track in the first place, and at other tracks that we go to on the Formula One calendar. But yeah, I would definitely be open to a return to Fuji. I mean, I'd be open to the Formula One calendar being a lot more changeable, I guess, would be a lot more plug and play.
Mm-hmm. Like rotating Grand Prix.
Yeah, like as in the future, I would love to see that. Like you're gonna have tracks that always stick around. You're always gonna go to Silverstone. You're always gonna go to Monaco, whether you love it or you hate it. But some years, let's go to Hockenheim. Work out a deal, Formula One. Let's go to Hockenheim. Let's go to the Nürburgring. Let's go to Turkey. Like there's so many tracks, and I know a lot of this is just wishful thinking from a Formula One fan, but like tracks that just probably will never be raced at again that definitely should be, like Sepang. Like there's so many great tracks out there in the world that F1 could race at that they probably won't, maybe even ever again, because the way this sport is going, if you're adding tracks, they're new tracks, and they're most of the time street circuits, which we have a news piece about street circuits coming up later, so if you want to see me complain, or if you want to hear me complain, don't go anywhere.
Here's the thing about that is what NASCAR, I'm going to bounce further off of that. What NASCAR used to do, Ethan, is they would have the Xfinity and Truck Series do more standalone races at places like Rockingham, which they're going to do next week, but they would do other stuff like they used to go to trucks used to go to Canada Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and Mosport for a week. Yeah. In the past, trucks used to go to IRP. Now they've brought it back. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that, and to hit more racetracks and tap into more markets. Why doesn't F1 do the same thing? Say, okay, Formula 2, Formula 3, go to Sepang for a week. Go to wherever.
I think it's two reasons. The first reason is that those two series are seen and categorized as support series. They are there in addition to Formula One, not for really any other reason. Which, if that's good or bad, is a completely different conversation. Because personally, I would be totally for F2 and F3 branching out more, going to different tracks that F1 doesn't go to, because like F1 could, the way that F1 is going, they could never race on a track like Brands Hatch, let's say. But I think an F2 car might be able to. I don't know, maybe. It would be a very interesting question. Maybe he's already talked about this, whoever he is. I'm forgetting his name. Whoever is in charge of Formula 2, I think the guy that was in charge of Formula 2 is now doing something different in F1. So whoever the new like president of F2 is or whatever, it would be a very interesting question. I might be just completely wrong about that, but regardless, whoever is in charge of F2, it would be a very interesting question to ask them, their thoughts about that, about branching out more. Because I personally would like to see it, but I think the way that F1 and the FIA view those series, I don't think that would happen, just the way they view them. But two, I think that obviously the Cup Series car drives different from the Xfinity Series car, and the Cup Series car and Truck Series car have similarities, but they obviously are different from each other too. Mm-hmm. I think that it's kind of a similar thing, that the F2 car is very different from the F1 car, that, it doesn't make sense for the FIA to be like, okay, we're seriously considering F1 returning to Kailami. Let's have Formula 2 go there to test out what it would be like. Because it wouldn't be like what F1 would be like. Right. There's no point testing that from that point of view. Now, should that stop them from branching out more? Like I just said, no. I think I would love to see that. But I think those are the two things that are stopping them from their perspective.
Okay, and then the final thing that I kind of paralleled from Formula 1 to NASCAR is that overtaking issue due to dirty air. Mm-hmm. That's happening a lot in NASCAR.
It's just a big issue in motorsports right now.
Right, NASCAR with its package right now, it's clean air is king so much, and these cars are so close to each other. They got to make dirty air less of an issue. Yeah. I don't know how they do it.
I don't know either. Because
maybe a smaller spoiler, maybe more horsepower, just something.
I don't think it's an aerodynamic issue. So I think the fix to it has to be an aerodynamic fix, and you're kind of seeing that in Formula 1. Like, Formula 1 will become more of an engine formula in the coming years with the changes to that. But we are seeing changes in the body, changes in the aerodynamics package to Formula 1 to try to combat that dirty air. But the issue is, Andrew, these cars are fastest. These cars are optimized when they're in clean air. And you're going to build a car that's optimized, or you're going to build a car for the optimal conditions because that's when it's fastest, and then you adjust to everything else. That's just the way it is. So when these cars are in dirty air, that's not what they're built for. They're built to go. These cars are indirectly being built practically for qualifying. And I don't remember who said it. I think it was Fred Vasseur, maybe, who basically expressed concern about Formula 1 becoming a qualifying championship. Mm-hmm. And to an extent, like, it's a very valid concern, and to an even less extent, but still to an extent, it's already there. Like, qualifying is king, passing is so difficult, and it's because these teams are striving to be as innovative and aerodynamically forward thinking as possible, because that's what's going to help them go fastest. But then you're in dirty air, and you're not able to go fast anymore. But you're building the car for the clean air conditions, because you're not going to build a car that's the best when you're in second place, because then when you do end up getting in first place, you're going to be slow, and you're probably going to get passed again. So you might as well just build a car that if you are hopefully in first place, no one can pass you. I guess. I don't have a technical background. I'm kind of just talking, but that's what makes sense to me. That would also be really interesting to get, like, an aerodynamicist on here for an interview. Maybe that's something we should look into doing, Andrew, over the summer or over the break. Point being, though, yeah, it's the aerodynamic innovation that I can say positively. It is the aerodynamic innovation that is leading to poor racing, which is backwards in a way, but it's the way it is. These cars are too fast in clean air, and it's affecting them in dirty air. Maybe not, I don't know. It's the aerodynamic innovation that is having a negative effect. That I can say with 100% certainty. Everything else, I'm not qualified to speak on, just my opinions, but yeah. And now for the news.
Into the news. We
Into the
have
news.
a couple of open entry news for NASCAR. Nothing too huge. Connor Zilic and then will make his return in the Coke 600. We'll see how he does there. And NASCAR's longest race.
Yeah.
See how
Be a test for him.
Be a good test for the young kid who is heralded prospect. And final, my other piece of news: Josh Bilicki, Garage 66, running Bristol and more, with probably a few road courses on the schedule for him. Might be able to drag that Garage 66 car into the 30s for a road course. He is very, 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 very talented. He might be, if you put him in a good race car, he has shown that he is very talented. And I think very underrated road course driver, especially at Road America, which is shame NASCAR doesn't go to anymore in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see how those two drivers do in their handful of starts. Back to F1 news, Ethan.
Yeah, so, as I said, well, not only did I tease that I was going to get angry about street circuits, but, Andrew, remember when I was just talking about Kyalami, like, less than 10 minutes ago?
Yeah.
You know how it's, like, a track that drivers and fans would both be very interested in seeing Formula 1 return to, not to mention I believe he is the president of Porsche South Africa, who owns the track and who has said that he would get the track to FIA Grade 1 specifications if Formula 1 wanted to race there?
Yeah.
Well, F1's thinking about just doing another street race in Cape Town.
Oh, yeah.
Because not only do we not have enough street circuits, we don't have enough street circuits when there is a very capable, or at the very least interesting, racetrack within that same country.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, why, Andrew, would you not go and race on the Indianapolis road course when you can race around Hard Rock Stadium?
Or Laguna Seca.
Well, Laguna Seca would be impossible in these F1 cars. But yes, like, there are hundreds of tracks out there, tens in America, that they could race at. But no, let's race around Hard Rock Stadium. But that's getting off track. Basically, this is a report from Philip Clearan of motorsport.com, and he's basically saying that South Africa is deciding on if they want to host Formula 1 again, and things are kind of moving on from Kyalami to a street race in Cape Town, right near the water. And a decision will be reached supposedly by the end of April on the future of this potential situation. Andrew, it would be a Tilke, however you say his name, designed circuit, and it would be built around the 2010 FIFA World Cup Stadium. So, again, a spot that seems to be primarily chosen for its surroundings. You got the ocean, you got famous soccer stadium, just everything we love when we're choosing racing destinations, right, Andrew? We don't like to have racing in places that promote good racing. We have to like racing around things that we can look at instead of looking at the cars battle on track, right? That's why we all love the Las Vegas race, because we're able to look at the Eiffel Tower and the whatever they're calling it, the orb, the sphere. That's what it's called, the sphere.
And all the casinos.
Yeah, that's what we love about the Las Vegas Grand Prix, right? To be fair, the Las Vegas Grand Prix has exceeded every single expectation. And by that same token, there's really nothing to say that this track couldn't, but most street circuits just are very disappointing. You have the odd few that are solid, but I feel like the more at least the newer street circuits are pretty disappointing, like no matter what series. I think the Chicago street circuit in NASCAR has been a relative success, but it's still a meh track.
I wouldn't say a mad track. I think I think the 3 full races, the 3 majority races where they've done the majority laps, I do think they put on good races.
Is that because of?
How many is it because of rain?
Yeah, that's hard to say.
The one dry race that they did have there with the Xfinity Series last year was great.
Fair point.
But that's one of one, and
Yeah.
that's not a sample size that's worth anything.
Yeah, like Las Vegas has been good. Again, there's questions about if that's due to conditions or the track itself is actually just better than people think. Miami, we know, is not that great.
Jeddah
is Jeddah just shouldn't host a Formula One race for a myriad of reasons. But just the track is definitely one of them. And then you have all the failed street circuits that have been proposed over the years that have all looked very boring. Vietnam is definitely the most famous of that bunch. But then, like, you do have Baku, you have Albert Park. Pretty solid tracks. I don't know. Andrew, this is what... you guys listening obviously can't see it, but you can look it up online, Andrew. This is what the design is. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it doesn't exactly inspire huge confidence in, if this does become a real race, this becoming something, a track that I will circle on the calendar as a, probable banger. It's okay. It looks like there are multiple hard braking zones, which in modern F1 is what you need for passing. There could probably be 3 to 4 DRS zones depending on how brave we're feeling. So it could potentially host good racing. Maybe Andrew, maybe we're just haters. Maybe I'm just a hater. I don't know. I think one thing, I'll say this. If it takes a street circuit to get a race on the continent of Africa to happen, I'm still a fan of it. I just wish it was at Kailami.
That's fair.
If Formula One is a worldwide brand, it is the worldwide motorsport, the premier of worldwide motorsports. To not have a race on one of the continents that's not Antarctica is disappointing. So I like that this is happening. Just think it could be more ideal
conditions.
Yeah. But still, if this is what it takes, then I hope it happens and I hope it's great. Just disappointing that they're thinking about doing it on a street circuit is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And who knows, maybe we will get a race in Antarctica. the Penguin Grand Prix. Would you be interested in that? A little bit of smaller news, but news nonetheless. Ryo Hirakawa has joined Haas as a test and reserve driver. He was previously McLaren's test and reserve driver. Previously, maybe still does race with Toyota in WEC. I know he used to. I don't know if he still does.
I believe he still does.
But he was part of the 10,000 drivers that were reserve drivers for Alpine, but I believe he's officially left the team, and he has definitely joined Haas and team principal Eiyu Komatsu. There's definitely a connection there because, I mean, Komatsu came up through the the management side of Toyota, and Hirakawa has raced for Toyota, so there's definitely a connection there. I don't know if they actually know each other, but at least worked adjacently from each other in the past, so it's a move that makes sense. But like I said, it's not like groundbreaking or anything, but it is interesting, and it makes the most sense. I'm surprised this wasn't already the move, just given the ties that you have now between those brands. Anyway, another piece of news that's not exactly hard news, but interesting nonetheless, is we're getting some clarity into who could race for a Cadillac in 2026. We talked a lot about how Yuki would be perfect for that seat because he seemed like the odd man out in Red Bull. And now he is in Red Bull, so I think he's firmly off the board there, and he's not even mentioned here, so I don't know if they ever considered him, probably not considering him anymore. And we've talked a lot about how Cadillac has said that they want a young driver, preferably American, and then a team leader. So, Mr. I have no idea how to say his first name. It's like Graham, but weird. So I don't know if it's actually pronounced as Graham. His last name is Loden, I can say that. Team principal, Mr. Loden of Cadillac, had an interview with, I guess it was like a podcast or something, where Speed City is the name of it, where he talked about potential ideas. Mentioned Jack Crawford, young American in Formula 2, who is part of the Aston Martin driver program. Talked about Colton Herta, who we know has garnered, I should say, success from Formula 1 teams in the past, and of course, already has that Andretti connection that Cadillac is, also kind of has in a way. Don't need to... If you don't know how this Cadillac team is being run, go listen to our episode where we talked about it, however long ago that was. So those are the two young guys, right, that are potential. And then I don't think he outright said it, but he alluded to guys like Valtteri Bottas, Sergio Perez, those types of drivers who are out of the sport but have experience, race winners, guys who have been at teams that have gone all the way. So nothing that we didn't really know, but it is cool to hear him say that they're looking at Jack Crawford in Formula 2. And it's nice to hear Colton Herta's name said out loud. So that's really the main takeaway, those two young guys. Not to say that there aren't other young guys, but definitely those two keep an eye on, which we kind of already knew. But again, it's different when we speculate it versus when the team principal says it.
Mm-hmm.
And now for next week's race previews.
Going into the previews now. Bristol. You have 3 open cars this week. Corey LaJoie in the 01 with Rick Ware. Jesse Love making his Cup Series debut in the 33 for Richard Childress, and Josh Blicky in the 66 for Garage 66. The 5, Ethan. 5 drivers I give you each week that I think might win. 8-time winner there, Kyle Busch. Always all you can't count him out. I know it's a Richard Childress car, but still, he has an undeniable track record. 4-time winner Denny Hamlin, coming off a 2 in a row, trying to make it 3. 3-time winner there, Brad Keselowski. You also have 2-time winners there, and Joey Logano and Kyle Larson. Honorable mention Chris Buescher. Xfinity Series rotating drivers. 07 is Nick Lights for SS Greenlight. 17 for Hendrick is Kyle Larson. 19 for Gibbs is Justin Bonsignor. Corey Himes drives the 24, not 22 for Sam Hunt. SS Greenlight cars are this week 35 Greg Van Alst, 53 Mason Maggio, 45 Mason Massey. A lot of Mason M's racing in Xfinity that rotate cars. Tyler Tomasi drives the Garage 6 entry. 70 for Cope is Thomas Annunziata this week. Cram back in the 74 for Mike Harmon. CJ McLaughlin in the 91 for Mario Gosselin's DGM team. Truck Series 1, Brandon Jones for Tricon. The second and third entries for Rayum Brothers are going to be driven by Stu is Stephen Malazze, 22 is Josh Rayum. 6 will be driven by Norm Benning for his own team this week.
Yay!
Spire brings their third and fourth car for Kyle Larson and Corey Day. I'm tired and starting to lose it here. 44 for Nice is Bailey Curry. 66 is Luke Fenhouse. 75 for...
Cousin of Ricky Stenhouse?
No, Luke Fenhouse is his own guy. That's for Thor Sport. 75 for Henderson, Parker Kligerman. 84 for Cook is Patrick Staropoli. And 90 for the Carroll team is Justin Carroll. Long Beach. Interesting. One more thing I want to talk about Bristol for the previews. Last spring, the tire there was really soft. We'll see if that happens again. I doubt it. NASCAR doesn't know what happened. Goodyear doesn't know what happened. No one knows what happened.
It's great when something happens and no one knows why. It's perfect.
Long Beach, speaking of tires, they have the green tire instead of the red tire this week. Because that's what they do on street circuits. They bring the guale rubber. I still don't know how to pronounce it. That's made from a desert shrub. I called that. I'm not a shrubbery expert.
You're not?
No.
What? Come on, Andrew.
So
you gotta add that to the resume. Gotta add that to the bag.
Those tires are typically softer than the regular alternates, so expect the primaries to be the preferred tire for Long Beach. The 5 drivers, I give you 2-time winner Will Power, 2-time winner Scott Dixon, 2-time winner Alexander Rossi. And then Andretti teammates who always go on the street circuit, Kyle Kirkwood, and Colton Herta. It's been a long day already. Honorable mention.
Kyle Herta is the optimized Andretti driver. The hypothetical, theoretical GOAT of Andretti.
The honorable mention is Joseph Newgarden, won there as well at one point. Ethan, preview Bahrain for us.
Yeah, it's a regular race weekend, no sprints or anything like that. No driver changes or anything like that. We'll see how this goes. Obviously, during testing, Bahrain was a lot colder than it normally is. Now, about a month or so later, the temperatures have risen, Andrew. So it's going to be hot. Are we still worried about temperature affecting the Mercedes? I don't know. I don't want to say no. So, I mean, I guess it's going to be like 90s, 100s. Like, at night, for qualifying at least, like, it's going to be that hot. During the race at night, like, it's... I don't know when it starts local time. I think it starts at, like, 8 or 9 local time. It's going to be, like, 80 degrees, dropping into the high 70s. So that's not, like, horrible, but it could be hot in could be really hot in qualifying, which could affect some drivers, some teams. I don't know. It's a track that we've seen some pretty solid racing at. It's a track that we've seen some pretty boring racing at. So, who knows, really? Who knows? All I know is that it's time for pick points, Andrew.
And now for next week's race picks.
And I am still leading 65 to not your 45, because I'm leading to the guests 47. Then you're bringing up the rear, Andrew. What happened?
I'm gaining points on you.
But you're in third, Andrew. You're moving backwards in the championship.
Hey, if I'm gaining points on you, that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
Andrew,
it's not a concern.
Andrew, when was the last time that the guests were ahead of one of us?
A few weeks ago, actually.
Oh, really?
That's
okay, never mind then.
Not really riveting here.
What happened though to lead us to this situation? Well, Lando Norris, who myself and the guest picked, did not win Japan, nor did Oscar Piastri. So that's a point for the both of us, because did finish on the podium, and you do get a point because Oscar Piastri also finished on the podium. Just wasn't first, and I also get a point, and the guest gets a point because we both picked him second. You get a point because Max Verstappen finished on the podium. He finished first. You had him third. Shout out to Alex Martinez, who was the guest. He wanted to put Max first, and I told him that was not smart. It actually would have been smart. So the guest could have had 5 more picks than they actually would have. Actually, it would have been the perfect podium, because I think he would have gone Max Lando, Oscar. So, sorry, Alex. Sorry to the guests. Don't listen. What do I know? I mean... obviously more than you, Andrew, but nothing else really went right. Christopher Bell, who you and I both picked for the Xfinity Series, finished behind Chase Elliott, so that's 1 point to guess. And then Denny Hamlin. Good job, Alex. I mean, I know Denny Hamlin is like one of 5 NASCAR drivers you know by name, so not really, it takes a lot of the guessing out of it. But still, good job. Denny Hamlin won the race. I went with a long shot, Chase Briscoe, who finished in the top 10, but towards the bottom. And then you picked Kyle Larson, who had a really, really rough day at the office.
You also failed to mention how I got 3 points for getting Lando in P2.
Yeah, good job for that. You picked that correctly.
Moving into this week, who's the guest this week?
Guest is birthday boy Morgan Tremmel. Happy birthday, Morgan.
I was trying to avoid him this week for points.
It's his birthday, man. I had to go with him.
I was hoping you would have went with Jim Tremmel.
Oh, I could have. I saw Mr. Jim Tremmel earlier today. Jim, if you are listening to this, thank you once again for allowing me to come with you guys to lunch. That was awesome. And just great guy overall. Fan of the show. Amazing person.
Anyway, we got to get moving here with 3 minutes to go, unfortunately. I wish we could spend more time on Jim, but anyway.
Lawrence Van Hopen, your pick for that F3 sprint.
Yeah, that was my pick last time in the sprint. He got crashed up by some other guy.
Mm-hmm. I'm going Rafael Camara for both the sprint and the main race. You crossed out...
because that guy isn't racing anymore.
He's not racing anymore. All right, well, we'll get a different pick for F3 from Morgan. It's not going to be Nikita Bedrin. It's going to be someone else. But he picked Theo something, Nail? Theo Nail for the main race.
Theo Pill.
Yeah, you also picked Camara because we know Wheel Andrew. You picked Pepe Marti for both.
He did well last year.
F2 races. I picked Leonardo Fornaroli. I don't know when the last time this guy has won a race, because he didn't win all season last year in F3 and he won it. But he just always finishes second. So, maybe he can finish first for once. I don't know. Just my thought. Morgan went with Joshua Dirksen and Luke Browning. For Bahrain, you said Max is going to win. I mean, it's Max Verstappen, and now he's driving like Max Verstappen. So
He's always good at Bahrain, it feels like.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick. It's probably how it's going to happen. I picked Lando, as did Morgan. You picked Oscar for second. I also picked Oscar for second. And then Morgan picked Max. And then
Fun fact about Leonardo Finaroli real quick. He has one win on his listed on his Wikipedia page. That's in 2021 when he won Italian F4 at Misano.
Yeah, this guy just can't win. He just always finishes second, which, hey, not a bad strategy, honestly. If you're going to always finish second, there are worse strategies. You're really on this Oscar Piastri is better than Lando Norris train. You picked Lando to be third. I picked Max. Morgan is smarter than you, so he picked Oscar behind Max, or behind Lando as well. For Indy, you and Kyle Kirkwood, you already explained why. Me and the guests both went with Alex Palou.
That's not a good pick. He's not very good at the street that street circuit in particular.
He is becoming inevitable. You went with Corey Heim for the Truck Series race at Bristol.
Palou's going to finish 6th.
Okay. You went with Corey Heim for the Truck Series at Bristol. Do you want to say why?
He's fast.
I went with Ty Majeski because he's good around those tracks. And Morgan went with Kyle Larson because he's a Cup Series driver. We both picked Kyle Larson for Xfinity at Bristol because he's a Cup Series driver. You have the guest, Morgan, picking Connor Zilic. And then for the Cup Series race, we both went with Denny Hamlin. He has the chance to do 3 in a row. We both know Wheel. We both know he's going to do it. He's great at Bristol. Morgan went with Kyle Larson.
All right, that's it for episode 14. That's Ethan Ignatowski. I'm Andrew Hazlett. Stay tuned for more Great Blaze program coming right up.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, Wheel.